For almost a year now, we at BillingViews and others in the industry have been examining whether direct operator billing, and particularly and specifically direct-to-bill mobile payments, is actually the biggest opportunity for operators at the moment. And so we decided to find out. We surveyed 500 US mobile subscribers and asked them whether they were ready to replace debit and credit cards with direct-to-bill mobile payments. Bearing in mind that this is very much an initial survey and is something that we'd like to build into a quarterly index tracking this opportunity, we asked the initial survey group of 500, if you bought something using your mobile phone, would you consider charging it directly to your mobile bill? And the results were interesting. Although 42% preferred credit card and 28% preferred debit card, 15% are already willing to use direct-to-bill mobile pay, which is obviously very good news for operators. However, 15% did say that lack of trust in a provider was going to be the decisive issue. And interestingly, I think 28% of those who said yes specifically said that they wanted loyalty points to do so. In other words, they need an incentive to actually go for their mobile phone bill. The rules for the respondents was very simple. We simply needed 500 people who subscribed to one of the big four US mobile operators, and ended up with a sample group where 44% were with AT&T Wireless, 12% with Verizon, 12% with T-Mobile, and 32% with Sprint. What we found when we looked at the results by operator was that the sentiment is very similar across all four, the lowest being with Verizon at 13 and the highest with Sprint at 20. However, T-Mobile had 19% and AT&T had 14. So the opportunity for each of them is pretty similar at the moment. When we analysed the results by age, we found, perhaps not surprisingly, that the 34 and under segments are the most amenable to going for the direct-to-bill option. And significant percentages are willing to adopt, however, in the 35 to 64 age groups as well. We found that debit cards are the greatest challenger amongst the younger segments, and credit cards become increasingly popular as the age groups go upwards. We also found that men are slightly more amenable to this option than women. The question is, what does the 15% who are willing to adopt actually mean in terms of customer numbers? And already the opportunity is pretty big. AT&T Wireless has 9.75 million customers in that range. Verizon Wireless has just over 9.5 million. Sprint has 7.5 million, and T-Mobile has just over 4 million. All of them are prepared to adopt this option. And we built that on survey responses by the operators, multiplied by the US population over 18, and the respective operator market share according to Cheaton Sharma Consultancy. When you use the same methodology to look at the annual debit transaction opportunity, again, we now see a large opportunity that runs into the billions of transactions. AT&T Wireless, for instance, has nearly 3 billion transactions a year. Verizon Wireless, 2.8 billion. T-Mobile, 1.2. And Sprint has 2.2 billion transactions a year that they could address. And this is based on 25 debits per user per month, which came from the Bank of America statistics, multiplied by the early adopter estimates, multiplied by 12 months. So the conclusions of this initial survey into US mobile operator opportunity is that 15% of their subscribers are willing to adopt direct-to-bill mobile payments right now, which means that that's more than 30 million people. And if they can convert these 15%, that would translate into more than 9 billion transactions a year. So the obvious initial conclusion is that the opportunity is enormous. And what we intend to do is to build this into an index and track the rise of this opportunity and the growth of this opportunity, both in the US and other regions as well.